Okay, so it's been a while since I've made a video, and it's not because I haven't been working on any computers. Most of the computers that I've received that are untested, so to speak, have either been working or they just needed a very simple fix like a PLA chip. So easy fixes. So I've got everything hooked up here as far as power and as far as the monitor is concerned. I'm going to turn this thing on. And light comes on, but the screen gets nothing. I mean, not even a blip. Just no signal at all. So this isn't just a black screen. It's a no signal. It's a no signal problem. So let's open this up and see what we've got. It still has a shield. I can see that through the vents. So that's a good sign that no one hopefully has been in it already. Not that it's conclusive that no one has. You can obviously solder a shield back on, but typically most folks that take the shield off don't put it back on. It's not necessary. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, here's what we got inside here. Wow. Okay, we're gonna have to do a little bit of vacuuming, and obviously no one has been in it. But what I am noticing already is that the tabs where the screws go in, boy, this thing came off really easy, where the screws go in seem to be busted because the board is lifting pretty easily. And yeah, I can see that those tabs are all cracked from the bottom, so this board's going to be easy to come out. So let me vacuum this thing up, and then let's just come back. Hold on a second. Wow, it almost feels like I should wear gloves. All right. So let's check for voltages here really quick, and make sure there's nothing up. Usually when there's no screen signal at all, a lot of times it's the fuse on the 9-volt rail. So we'll check the continuity of the fuse, although it looks visually like it's intact. And then we'll just check the voltages to make sure that we've got the right voltages going across. So okay, first of all, let me check the continuity on that fuse here. And okay, so the fuse looks good. So now let's check the voltage. Let's turn this thing on here. Okay, and 22 volts on that pin of the voltage regulator, and getting 12 volts on that one, so that looks good. On this side, I'm getting 12 volts on that, and oops, there you go. I'm getting 5 volts on the other. So voltages look fine. Kind of already figured that since the LED was lit. So there's nothing wrong with the switch or anything like that. A lot of times when you have a blank screen with no signal, it's the switch is suspect along with the fuse. So, all right. So let's start looking at the chips here. PLA and VIC2, primary suspects right off the bat. I'm pushing down on the board since all of the little tabs that the screws go in are broken, so I'm just kind of holding the board down so I can unscrew the screws from them. Okay. Okay, so I love the 25 or the 250 425 boards because they don't have a lot of components. And the nice thing is, a lot of times, like this one, everything is socketed except for, you know, the RAM chips. But the main chips are all socketed, which is really nice because it makes it easy to test the chips, right? Our tester here. Let's start going to town on this. Okay, Big 2 is already selected, so I might as well test this one first. Alright, so that's sweet. Big 2 is in good shape. Then let's do the PLA next. Wow, this might be an easy one then. So PLA is bad. And I don't know we really need to test the others, but I don't think that CPU is going to be at fault here. No, I didn't take the CPU out. Alright, so let's just go ahead and put a PLA in there and put the ROMs back in. Test this real quick. I'll leave the SID out for now. Let's test this PLA here real quick. Okay. Should be good PLA because I just burned it. Okay. Let me see what it's going to show on the screen when I turn this guy on. That PLA here was bad, so before I forget, let's just mark it. Toss it aside. Alright. Okay, get the screen on. And I still get no signal. Not a second here. Okay. Yeah, still get no signal. So PLA was replaced. The VIC was good. The SID chip's taken out. Still not getting a signal, so I'm going to check that guy next right there. Yeah, nothing. All right. So let's check this guy next. And just in case, I'm going to test this PLA one more time. Make sure I didn't burn it out with anything that might be wrong with this thing. So okay. Let's check this guy. Okay, that's the 8701 clock chip. Look at that. 8701 failure. Sliding this thing around because making sure all the legs are touching. Nothing. Okay, so let's check another 8701. Those things are a little bit tough to find. I'll tell you that. Straighten out the pins a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on here. And now I'm getting a signal, which is good. But look at that. Doesn't that look strange? Turn this thing off, turn it back on again. That's something. Okay, I don't know if the ROM is good or not, but right now I'm going to put in a Kickman cartridge. That bypasses the ROM, so let's see. Okay, so it's beyond the ROMs. We'll check the ROMs anyways, but what will be suspect is the chips that support the PLA, because the VIC was good, the PLA is good. I'm feeling the RAM chips, none of them are hot. And I am getting a video signal, so let's go ahead and put the ROMs through the tester, also the 6502, and then we can start looking at these, like these MOS chips. That guy, this guy, maybe even this guy. Okay, those will be suspect, and if not those, then it's RAM. Like I said, the nice thing about these boards is the chips are very limited, so it doesn't take a whole lot of troubleshooting on it. All right, so let's check this out. I'm just curious about the SID. Chances are the SID is blown because it didn't look good with the PLA in the 8701, but we'll see. Yes. Well, this is a little bit of gold right there, so that's nice. Okay. So next, let's do the 6510. Look at that, 6510 failed. Let's just
slide it around a bit, make sure all the pins are in contact, and do it one more time. Wow. It's rare I get a bad 6510. But let's check that out. Okay, that's a good one. So let's go ahead and put this guy in there. Turn this thing on, try this one more time. And here's what I get now. Yeah, isn't that nice? All right. Okay. All right. So basic ROM is fine. Let's get kernel ROM next here. That's a kernel ROM. And of course, the Kickman cartridge isn't going to look at the kernel ROM, so kernel ROM. But character ROM is probably going to be okay, my guess. Yeah. Okay, so we'll replace the kernel ROM next. Okay. Okay, there's a good kernel ROM. All right, I'm going to turn this thing on now. And now look what we get. Boy, this board has gone through a lot. All right, so let's take the shield off. I already put flux paste on all the solder joints here. I don't cut the shields with a cutting wheel. I opt to just unsolder it. Okay, the bottom of the board looks pretty clean. So I am going to take a wild guess that it's this chip here. Now I can use the tester to do an inline test on this, but I'm not going to bother, because even if it's not that, I want to replace both of these chips. If the chip begins with a 7 and it's a MOS chip, especially, not good. So, so let's try this one first and go from there. Okay, just a word of advice. I use paste flux instead of liquid flux. Liquid flux tends to clog up the foam piece in the desoldering tool here. So I stopped using liquid flux when I'm using the desoldering tool, opting for paste flux, which does not seem to clog anything up here. So, all right. Okay, the other thing is that if this doesn't just pop right off, then I usually use a heat gun, which is what I'm probably going to be using off camera here, to heat it up, because you don't want to tear it out, because if you tear this out, you're going to tear up the pads. So I'm going to take the heat gun, heat up the bottom, and slowly take this chip out. Okay, so this chip is, there we go, 7711 chip, which is the equivalent to 74 LS 139. So we're going to get the tester here and go to 74 139. Okay. There we go. Failed. Okay. Well, that might bode well for us. So let's put a socket in here and get an LS139 chip in there and test one more time. Okay, I know I said earlier I know I would normally replace these with the 139, but I just happen to have a 7711, which, since it's socketed, if this ever goes bad, it's easy to just replace. But I'd rather use the 7711 that I already have if it's good. So yeah, so this is a good chip. We'll go ahead and put this guy in and see if this brings us back to life. Okay. Let's get this PLA back back in there. All right. All right. So got PLA, got the new 77, what is that, 7711 in there. So let's go ahead and turn this thing on. And there we go. Now we're talking. So let me put the Diag cartridge in there. Also, let me put the SID chip back in there. Okay, so I got the PLA back in, 7711, a new one in here that's working. And yeah, so let's go ahead and put the Diag cartridge in here and turn this thing on. Let's see what we get. All right. So now we're getting a good Diag screen. Nice. I also put the SID chip back in as well, so we should get some sound here, hopefully. There we go. All right. So these are showing bad. The same with the cassette and control serial and user ports, because I don't have the harness, the full harness hooked up to this thing. But for our intents and purposes here, I think this is good enough. So let's recap what we've done here, because we had quite a different bunch of error screens and we've replaced quite a few chips. Okay, so first we found our PLA was bad. And then after we replaced that, we found that our 8701 was bad, this guy. Then we found that our CPU was bad, that guy. Actually, I think before that we found that our kernel was bad, that guy. And then after all said and done, we found that our 7711 was bad. So 5 bad chips, and you know, it happens. So the system works now, and so I guess, you know, this is a wrap. I'm glad that this kind of wasn't just the PLA. It almost started out being that way, that it was just the PLA, and I'm like, oh man, not another one. But I don't know, there's always a silver lining. You saw all the different screens with all the different defective chips, and what we have now is a working system. So hope you got something out of this. I hadn't made a video in a while, so you know, I got one more in the works, which is an C64 video, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, like I always say, life is short. Live for today, because man, you never know what's around the corner. Tell anybody close to you you love them. All right, peace out.